Can hear me now, okay. Good morning, everybody, and thank you all very much for joining our Lean webinar, which is all about how to make your business run more efficiently. I'm recording the session because I know a couple of people have said that they aren't able to attend today, but will watch back at a later time. This is the first of our webinar series on our range of productivity supports, which also include green and digital. And we've a very exciting lineup this morning. After my own introduction, I'll pass you on to my colleague, John O'Hara, who will talk about Europe, our Enterprise Europe Network. I always seem to get that one mixed up. We'll then have our lean guru, Robert Potter, talking about the process, and he is to lean for business. I suppose is what Jim McGuinness is to Donegal football. What he doesn't know about lean isn't worth knowing. We often find as well that the best way to encourage people to do a project is to hear about others who have done that. And Ciara from Shine Seafood has recently undertaken a lean project, and she is very kindly joining us today and tell us about her learnings and experience. I will then briefly go through the application process, which is pretty straightforward as well. And I know sometimes that can be a barrier for people in terms of paperwork, but it is a pretty straightforward one. I'll go through that, and then we'll round off the session with a Q&A. So for any questions people may have, as I said, if you're just joining now and you haven't muted your microphone, I might just ask people to do that if you're not presenting. I'll now pass you over to my colleague, John O'Hara, who will talk to you a little bit more about the EEN.
All right, hello everybody. If you just give me one moment, I'll just move into full screen mode here. Okay, can everyone see my screen? I'll assume so, yes. Okay, hello everyone. My name is John O'Hara, and as my colleague Stephen had previously mentioned there, I work on the Enterprise Europe Network project run out of Leo Donegal. You might be wondering, well, what has this got to do with Lean? I'll explain. But first, I'll start with what the Enterprise Europe Network is. So the Enterprise Europe Network is a network made up of more than 450 support organizations. So that's universities, economic development units, government agencies, etc., around the world. So primarily in Europe, but also as far from as New Zealand, Australia, the US, Canada, etc. That exists to support organizations of any size, but particularly SMEs, in areas such as innovation, digitalization, internationalization, business partnering worldwide, etc. So I work with Leo clients in Donegal and around Ireland to signpost them to relevant supports that assist them in these areas around innovation, digitalization, etc. And that's where the connection to Lean comes in and why I'm here today. So before we get started on talking about what Lean is, I suppose I want to let you know a little bit about the network and give you the means to get in touch if you want to know more. So as I said, Enterprise Europe Network is the world's largest support network for innovative SMEs with international ambitions. So that's for companies, perhaps like your own, that wishes to go beyond the borders here of Ireland and into the big bad world. The network in figures is made up of 450 support organizations across 40 countries, all of the countries in the EU and beyond. There's a list of the countries there. And as I was mentioning, I suppose the support is broken down into the following areas: innovation, sustainability, resilience, EU single market, business partnering particularly, digitalization, internationalization, and access to finance. I suppose a big part of what we do here, as well as signposting to relevant supports such as the lean support, something that we do is partner Irish SMEs with international organizations for a variety of reasons. A fine example that we use is, someone that is looking to identify a manufacturer overseas or identify new business opportunities overseas. We can suppose, bring them into the network and connect them in with the relevant sources overseas. So what I would say is, if anything I've said, I've been instructed to keep it very short and sweet. But if anything I have said has piqued your interest, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Or my colleague Declan here, who works on the EEN, or the Enterprise Europe Network project as well. What I'll do is I will leave my contact details in the chat box, and don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like to learn more. Thank you for your time and for having me.
Thanks very much for that, John. So I'll now pass you over to Robert, who will give a circa 30 minutes brief intro and snapshot on the lean process.
Okay, everybody, when you hear 30 minutes, you think, oh, Janie, what's he going to talk about for 30 minutes? Stephen was very good in his introduction, but really I'm a short bald guy with a mustache, so don't worry about it. Interrupt as much as you like. If you've got questions, we're going to have a Q&A at the end, but we'll get through as much stuff as possible. I'm going to give you a very quick whirlwind tour of what lean is and how it is of benefit. Okay, so first thing we need to look at is anywhere where we've got activity, no matter what that activity is, it's made up of work and waste. The waste element is the bit that we need to eliminate. Most of us do things because we've always done them that way. And a lot of the things that we do don't need to be done. One of the things I always say about lean, it's really a set of tools that introduce us to common sense. Because when it comes to our businesses, we seem to have left common sense at the door. And we don't apply practical solutions. We don't look at things. And lean applies to every industry, every service. I know for myself, I'm working with food manufacturers. I'm working with farms. I was down with Dairy Gold and Kerry Foods. So working with farmers and dairy across to, I'm also working on waiting list initiatives for the HSE. So it really applies to just about everything that we do. You know, I've set up a completely new unit for doing ADHD assessments, things like that. So all those different things, no matter what the industry, lean can help us. And it applies to just about everything. It helps us to unlock efficiency and grow our businesses. The Lean Institute did a study a short while back, or back in 2017, and it's got better since. But they looked at a series of companies across a wide range of industries. And with those companies, you had all those that were doing any kind of work was completing that work ahead of schedule and also under budget. This was also applying to construction. So construction companies were doing building work ahead and finishing ahead of schedule and on the budget. And as we know, lean has not been applied to the Children's Hospital, but it's everywhere else. Okay, so we do have the Lean Construction Ireland has been set up, and we're doing a lot in the construction industry. Like the first time we used lean in construction in Ireland was when they built Centre Parks. Centre Parks finished 4 months ahead of schedule and nearly 500,000 under budget. So it's well worth doing. It helps us to unlock our efficiencies and grow our businesses. Quite often we're so busy doing that we're not taking the time out to think, is there a better way of doing this? I hear a lot of companies say, oh, lean sounds great, but we're just too busy at the moment. Actually, that's the time when you really need to be doing lean, is when if you're too busy, then there's something wrong, because it's about working smarter, not harder. It's helping us to grow our businesses by working smart. And that's what we need to be doing. How do we grow our business and work smart? Deming, one of the founders of Lean, said, it's a culture. Lean is not a project. It's not something, oh, we're going to set up a project and we're going to introduce lean over the next 12 weeks or so. That's not how it works. Lean is a culture change. It changes how we think. It changes our mindset. It looks at all the processes that we do. Remember, no matter how good we make the process, if we put in a project to fix a process, If we don't change the culture, that process will go back to the way it was. And if we can focus on the culture, it can improve all our bad processes. We are the culture. Now, one of the key things about lean, all improvement requires change. Not all change gives improvement. So we need to test that change. But not willing to change is not willing to survive, because our businesses will not survive if we're not open to change. There are 4 essential components that we need to have in place for us to adopt lean. We need the will to do it. So the will to change. We need the ideas, but not the ideas coming from the external experts, not the ideas coming from the management. The best ideas in any business for improving that business come from the people who do the job every day. The experts are the people who do the job every day. Let me ask you all a question. How many of you this morning, when you got up, made a list, these are the mistakes I'm going to make today? No one. Great. Then I don't have to use a counseling degree. Okay. So we don't do that. If people don't get up and make a list of the mistakes they're going to make today, why is it then that we go hell-bent on finding the person who made the mistake rather than fixing the problem? So what we do in lean is we go after the process. What was wrong with the process that allowed the mistake to happen? If we fix the process, the mistake won't happen again. If we go after the person, the mistake will happen again, because we're just bigger versions of kids. Has anyone ever said to a kid, don't do that? What does the kid do? The very thing you told them not to do, because you've told them to focus on it. The more we focus on something, the more we're going to do it. And that's the same. Think about a mistake you made. You said, I'm definitely not going to make that one. And you hell-bent on it. You know, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. And bang, you make the same mistake because we're focusing on it. So what we do in lean is we identify the process areas that are causing the problem. If you fix the process, the problem won't occur again. So we get those ideas from the staff, people who do the job every day. The other is the resource and capability, that we teach those staff to work smarter, not harder. We make their jobs easy for them. We take the waste away. Where we've got 10 process steps to do something, or you look at flow within your business and you see that stuff is coming. If you were to follow a product through your business or a service, you'll find that you end up with like a spaghetti diagram. It's like a bowl of spaghetti because it's all over the place. So that's all waste. So we look at how to flow, how to get things in and out in a better way. So resource and capability, working smart. And the last thing is the execution. We need to be completer finishers. We don't want to be those people who are always starting things and never finishing. We want to make sure things get done. If we're missing any one of these, we run into difficulty. If we don't have the will to change, we've low priority. If we don't get the ideas from staff, it won't stay fixed. If we ask staff to work harder instead of working smarter, they just get frustrated. And the anxiety comes in, and then you've got people off work for stress and various other things. And then if we don't have the execution, we're never actually getting anything done. Has anyone ever heard the phrase, if it's not broke, don't fix it? Yeah. Or don't come to me with problems, just come with solutions. They're all great, but they actually drive constraints in our business. They're the things that cause us problems. So the things that cause us problems and make it hard to do business is when we're results only focused. We're looking, just get us the results. Don't come with problems, just get the results. Fragmented thinking, where we tell people, just focus on what you do, forget about everybody else, make sure your bit's right, don't care about anyone else. So if it comes into you and it's wrong, you do your right bit on top of it, and then lo and behold, we have to rework it at the end of the day because it was wrong, because people are not stopping things. Command and control. This is one of the worst. It's where we have the things that says management are paid to think, workers are paid to do. So we don't ask workers, we tell them. That's one of the biggest mistakes, because the staff are the best assets we've got. And then, like I was mentioning earlier, if we go after the person and not the process, we have got a blame culture. If you've got a blame culture, you've got a defensive culture. You'll always have somebody to blame. There's always some reason, rather than looking at the process, what was wrong with the process. And then you have the other group of people who are the knowledge is power people. I know it. I'm never going to tell anyone else. So they always have to come through me. And they're never open to learning anything new. These causes problems in our business. What lean does is it introduces to the opposite of these. We need to be process orientated. In other words, we look at all our processes and our journeys, and we see how to make sure we get to the results in the easiest way possible. It's system thinking. We look at the bigger picture. We look at, if this is what I have to do, what are the inputs? What are the outputs? Where do my inputs come from? I'll give you an example. I was working with one of the banks here in Ireland, and the management said, the best process we've got is in this area here. We have 19 teams that take 23 days each month to do a report for the regulator. I said, well, if that's the best process you've got, let's look at what they do. So I looked at what the regulator needed in the report, and I went back through each team. And what we discovered was what the regulator needed in the report could be done in half a day by one team, because it was all there. All the teams did their piece and passed it on to the next team. Not one of them ever asked the next team, what is it that the information you need? They all worked in their own silos and did their piece, passed it on. And that's what we have quite often in our businesses. We're not asking the next in chain, what is it that you actually need? Who is our customer, our internal customer? Instead of command and control, where we're saying, just do as I say, we're actually mentoring problem solvers. A good leader, a good manager can go on holidays and nobody even misses them, because everybody knows how to fix things when they go wrong. They developed problem solvers. The poor manager can't go down the road 10 minutes without his phone ringing or her phone ringing saying, oh, we've got this problem, what do we do? They're not teaching problem solvers. Instead of the defensive culture, an error is an opportunity to improve. We will all make mistakes. None of us are infallible, but the key thing is learning from them and making sure that they do not happen again. And then finally, be open to learning. We can learn from the most unusual places. Always be open to learning. So when it comes to lean, what we do with lean is we focus on value. What is of value to our customers and to us? Where do we get value from? We eliminate waste. Waste is everywhere. Have you ever been to a meeting without an agenda? You can see all that waste. Actually, I was in one company where, when a query would come in, they didn't know, who answers that query? Who deals with that? And they'd ask the person next to them. And then two of them went and asked the person next to them, and so on and so on. No one ever measured it. But when we measured it, we found that everybody in the whole organization was spending 1 hour and 16 minutes every day walking around looking for someone else. When we added that up, there was 3,000 people in this organization. That added up to 11 million euros a year walking around looking for someone else. In all our business, when I go into any business, the amount of time people walk around looking for a stapler or looking for a brush, it's just the simple things that cause a lot of waste. So we look at eliminating that waste. What are the small wastes that we can identify and how do we eliminate it? Continuous improvement. We want to make sure that we're always learning. It's a journey. As I said, it's not a project, it's a journey.
Oh.
And along that journey, we're going to learn different things and we're going to fail sometimes, but we learn from that and move on.
Yeah.
Everything we do is, we do all the things that we do in lean because of who we are. What we do does not make us who we are. Therefore, what we do can change, and we can learn from those changes. And that's the idea. Lean empowers our employees to tell us when they make a mistake. So if you've got a blame culture, it goes under the table. People go, I hope nobody saw that. If you don't have a blame culture, people are shouting from, when they make a mistake, they're going, hey, something wrong with the process because it allowed me to make a mistake. We have to fix it. So the mistakes don't get passed on. And that helps us to reduce cost. And remember, any reduction in cost, like if I went out and increased sales by 10 grand, by the time it hits the bottom line and hits my margin, it's a couple of €100. If I can find and reduce costs by 10 grand, that's 10 grand on the bottom line. It's on my margin. That's why we do lean. Another reason why we do lean is it improves our margins by taking that waste away. It improves our quality. Our customers get a better service. It reduces our lead times. So we can do, I was with a company the other day that make doors, and they went from having 12 steps in the process. They realized they can do the same thing in 3 steps. And that got their lead time from 8 weeks down to 2 weeks, turnaround time. So all that feeds into the margin. It makes our businesses more stable. So we have more control of our business. The more in control we are, the less waste we've got. Okay. Best way to describe it. If we're doing lean, we're in control of our business. It's like when you're walking to the pub, you're doing lean. You've got it. You're in control. When you're coming home from the pub, you've got a lot of variation and you're not in control. So the more in control we are of our business, the better we are. Okay. It helps us to make decisions better. They're informed decisions. And we can grow our business without adding incredible costs because there's a huge return on investment in doing lean. The types of waste that we come across all the time. Not empowering staff. So management are paid to think, workers are paid to do. So we don't listen to the people. And yet they've got the best ideas. Not getting it right and having to do it again. If we rework something, it's all cost. Like if we had 10 items to make and QC checked them at the end and 8 of those are rejected and have to be reworked. Those 8 get reworked, QC checks them, 5 get reworked again. So those 5 go back in and get reworked. They finally get done, and we've still got 1 bad. All good. From a cost perspective, we have done the process 21 times where the customer has only actually got 9 items, and the customer only paid for 9, but we've all the costs of doing it 21 times. So it's really important that we don't have rework. Too many process steps, delays in the process. And all these processes lead to stress. And when we have bad stress, we can't think properly. We can't plan. Understanding our business and what's actually going on. I was in a company in Italy where the management said the cleaners are taking too long to clean down the production lines, before, when we're doing changeovers. And it's taking us too long. It's costing us an extra 13,000 a year. So I walked the process and I went into the freezer rooms where the product gets frozen. And lo and behold, there was guards missing. And on one Saturday alone, I saw 3 tons of good food going in the bin, 27,000 euros worth. And the management were worried about the cleaners taking too long. None of them had ever walked the process. They'd never gone to see for themselves what's going on. What we're doing in lean is we're finding creative, new ways to look at old challenges. Let me ask you a question. How many people here can see the word fly? Okay. Read the white bits. not the black bits. See, the whole idea is with lean, we start to look and see things. We understand that people see things differently. People will see things differently. We think it's quite perfectly clear what we're saying, where our customers and our suppliers think differently. So it's learning the language of others, even though they may be speaking the same language as us, but they're not seeing things the same way as us. So it's understanding how different people see things to ensure that we've got the process right. When it comes to lean and implementing lean in our business, here's some just basic tips. Do not approach it as a project. It is culture change. It's changing how we think. Start small. If I said to everybody, you want to get a 25% improvement at the end of the year, how do we do that? We improve by 0.1% a day, not even a full percent, 0.1%. And when we get those 0.1%, those small changes, we get a 25% improvement when we take away weekends and bank holidays. You work weekends and bank holidays, you're going to get even more. We eliminate waste. So we do a lot of visuals to make sure we identify waste and eliminate it. We get support from the staff, the people that do the job every day, and they buy into it because it's their ideas that we're implementing. We need to be persistent, but we also need to be patient because errors are opportunities to improve. We will see some quick wins at the beginning, but then we'll see some stuff where we have to work harder at it. And as I said earlier, if you think you're too busy to look at lean, that's the time to do lean. Okay. No matter, take the time out, because what we're doing is like that cavemen pushing the cart with the square wheels. We're so busy doing that we're not thinking, is there a better way of doing this? Is there a smarter way of working? And that's what lean is. It's working smart, not hard. As I said to you, 0.1% a day will give us a 25% improvement in efficiency. We capture ideas from staff. If even 1% of those ideas that were swimming around in our staff's minds on how to improve things were implemented, you wouldn't believe the difference it would make. In some of the companies that are doing this, some of them are getting, there's one company I know gets 1.5 million ideas from staff every year, and it saves them about $300 million a year. So it makes a huge difference to our business. I was working with a hospital where they put in a Bright Ideas program, and they got nearly, 1,400 ideas from staff in accident and emergency in this particular hospital. It was in the US. This hospital had a catchment area of 4 million people. It'd be like Ireland having one hospital. Accident and emergency took 12 hours. You'd go in there, you wouldn't be seen for 12 hours. So the staff came up with ideas, and they got about 1,400 ideas. And with those 1,400 ideas, after the cost of implementing the changes that they put in, they saved $16 million. Also, accident and emergency is now taking 15 minutes. Within 15 minutes, anyone that walks in gets seen. It can be done when you apply it, when you listen to the staff who do the job every day. So, lean is a really powerful tool that can help any kind of business. Any kind of business. It helps us to improve our operations. It helps us to reduce cost. It helps us to increase our competitiveness. We can do more with less. We can be more profitable. Understanding the lean principles and implementing in our own business, we can set ourselves up for long-term success. Many years ago, when I was working in the UK, Barclays, you know, it was around recession time, and Barclays came to me and said, "What are you doing differently? Because the companies you're working with are surviving, where companies doing the exact same business and seem to be turning over more have gone to the wall." And I said, "All I'm doing is lean. All I'm doing is lean." And those businesses are running those businesses better, and a lot of them are making huge success and huge changes. Okay, so I tried to keep it as short as possible so that we'd have more time for questions, because I'm sure I've opened up a lot of questions rather than answered everything. And when Ciara goes through her stuff and explains how they've worked on it, you know, the way the process kind of works is we do have people that go in and help you to get set up and all those kind of things. But really, it's yours at the end of the day. We train and we teach you how to do it for yourselves. The aim is not for us to be there long term. It's there to be there to give you the tools so that you can do this for yourself and you can continuously grow and continuously improve your business. Okay, that's me. Does anyone any quick questions before I hand over to Ciara or back to Stephen? There's two there in the chat. No, they're not questions.
No. No, thank you very much, Robert. That was brilliant. I love just a couple of key takeouts for myself in terms of trusting the process, learning the language of others. That piece seems so valuable, and a lot of it just if you think about it logically makes perfect sense, but it's just taking the time to do that, and particularly as well if you're too busy, which is probably one of the biggest barriers we hear, then you should definitely be doing lean. So yeah, I think that's a good takeaway for anyone in terms of considering whether it is for them or not. Thanks again, Robert. Yeah, look, we may have some towards the end of the session. If anybody else has anything, feel free to either unmute or put your questions in the chat box, and we'll get to them before the end of the session. I'll now pass you on to Ciara Shane, who will talk about her recent experience of the Lean project.
Thank you very much for that, Stephen. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, so I did the Lean program, and first off, a thank you to Stephen, because I initially applied to do digital, and he did a quick assessment on where we were at the time and said, "I actually think Lean would suit you best first." And best thing you ever came out with. It was just absolutely brilliant. So the first stage of it is you meet with Robert or one of his colleagues in Letterkenny for, God, I think it was a couple of hours one afternoon or one morning, and it was brilliant. Like, if you thought Robert was interesting for, what did you speak for, 15 minutes, 20 minutes? You'll be completely blown away with all of the other information that is available out there, and how simple a process like Lean can help your business. Now, I don't have any fancy slides here. I'm just going to talk from my own experiences. When I did meet with Robert first and we started speaking through it, I was kind of curious how it could affect my business, because I don't have any say in the operations side or the factory side or anything like that. For anyone who doesn't know, we sell Shine's Wild Irish Tuna, mackerel and sardines, and we sell them into retail all across the country, but we don't have any. I couldn't go down to like a production line or a factory line and ask that level of staff what's going on. It's basically just myself, my mum and my dad. So when we got involved in it first, I was like, well, there's definitely things here that we can take away from this and things we can implement and work smarter, not harder, which we do try to do as often as we can. But we are a small family business. So it was a gentleman called John that we dealt with that came down to us and did a bit of an assessment in our business. And what he was able to question and tell us in the first half day that we dealt with him was kind of mind blowing, in fairness. He told us things about our business and got us to question elements of what we can control that we really weren't aware of. And just one really simple thing, and you would think, God, everyone should know that about their business. We started a line of Irish sardines maybe a year to 18 months ago. Kind of time just sort of goes by when you're doing this sort of thing. But it was about a year when we started working with John, and he says, all right. He goes, so sardines are 30% of your business. And Dad and I looked at each other and we were like, really? Are they really? And he says, yeah, of course they are. So we were looking at all the figures and doing everything out. And it even just tilted our direction a little bit that, okay, well, this is where we need to be going. This is where we need to be focusing on. And I'm sure, like any business in any capacity at the minute, price increases and inflation has really hit certain things hard. So hit certain things, not hitting, it's not a word, has hit everybody hard in different angles and areas of their business and their personal lives. And even just down to transport, like John from Pembroke that we dealt with was able to say, okay, well, if you're bringing things from here to here, this is the cost implication of that. And if you were to do it this way, this is the cost implication of that. And at the same time as well, we were trying to go for a price increase with certain suppliers. And he was able to sit down with us and say, okay, well, you know, if you got this price increase with this product, this is the end goal. This is exactly what you would achieve. So like Robert was making a lot of reference there to the different percentages of increased productivity you could make. For us, it was really all about the increases that you could make over certain lines or over certain products for our end line completely. And 2023 was quite challenging financially for us. And we had never really sat down and looked at any of that stuff on paper in the way that we would have if we hadn't done lean. So it's not just a program for a production company, or it's not just a company that produces products. Any business will fit into this platform, and you can make any element of it work for you. And I know Stephen said he was going to talk about the application process, but it really is a very it is a bit daunting when you look at any application process, no matter what it's for. But it's not. Their system online is great, and geez, if you have any problems, just pick up the phone to somebody and it'll be sorted within seconds. It's something I would recommend everyone to do, because even though through other programs I had subsequently done with the Leo, I thought I had my finances on we've done a finance program a few years back. I thought, great, I've got a system for this, a system for that. It was great, but I still wasn't looking at it in the right ways. I was looking at it and I knew what was going on, but doing this program just kind of flipped a few things on its head and made things work a little bit better. And fingers crossed now, and toes and everything else possible, going into 2024 now, I think we're going in stronger. We've got a better angle, and we're going to focus on a couple of different products and a couple of different lines. And hopefully, like I said, things will be on the right end of it at the end of this year. And I would definitely put a lot of that down to having done this program. And like that, like I said, I would recommend anyone to go ahead and do it. That's me.
Thanks a million, Ciara. And yeah, I loved a couple of things there. The fact that you said it's small family business, because immediately sometimes we have conversations with business say, oh, I'm not manufacturing, I don't have 7 or 8 employees. Is it for me? So I think you've just answered that question.
I think everyone will get something out of it.
Yeah. And the fact also you've mentioned even about, stuff like supplier pricing and those elements where, initially people mightn't think, yeah, that's lean. It's more about internal focus. It can help with some of those external elements, and dare I say critical, particularly considering the broad economic environment at the moment as well. And that element around focus as well, because it can't do everything. You can't be all things to all people. Just being clear about what the priorities are, and dare I say even what the priorities are not, so that you can
We've even decided that there's certain lines now that we have that aren't worth keeping. They're costing us money, and why would you do that? Why would you do that? So yeah, we've and the report that we got at the end of it as well, I'm still going through it, I'm still going back to it, I'm still making reference to certain things, and like that it can be applied to any organization of any size. I think there's always something. Every day is a learning day regardless. So
of course, yeah. Brilliant. Has anybody at this point any questions for Ciara?
Anyone can email me. My email address is plastered everywhere, it's not a secret. If you have any questions or anything specific, don't be shy.
Perfect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share just go through the application process quickly. Apologies for that, folks. So in terms of the application process, I know which can often be a barrier for people in terms of how to do things. So on our website, localenterprise.ie/Donegal, into financial supports, and then you go to Lean for Business. Can everybody see my screen okay? Sorry. Yeah, great. And then you click down to click here to complete your application form. So the first thing you will do is need to register for our submit system. It's pretty much the same as registering for an email address. You put in your name, phone number, etc., and off you go. and then you sign in and you click a new application. So there's just a couple of eligibility elements first to go through. So business must be employing less than 50 employees, non-enterprise Ireland IDA or others in the Gaeltacht clients. So if you are outside of that, you're based within Donegal, you've under 50 employees, generally speaking, you will be eligible. There's other elements around de minimis rules and so on, but those are, I suppose, the key criteria to consider in advance. If you are a client of others in the Gaeltacht or Enterprise Ireland, you will have other similar programs to this that you can avail of. But essentially, you go in to start the process, new application. Just taking a little while to load. Agree to the T's and C's. In you go. So first one is just in terms of FOI, GDPR compliance. Click to accept that agreement. You then choose your specific Leo. So in our case, it would be Donegal. And then if you have exceeded the de minimis limit, which has actually increased to 300,000 over the past 3 years. So if you have availed or if you are within that threshold, yes, you can continue. Have you received any funding? So we'll just, for this instance, say no. If you have, you just declare that. Your business name, so we'll just call ourselves Leo Donegal for the purposes of this. You then go in.
Sorry,
and
Stephen.
Yes.
Just you're used to the term. We're all used to it. Some of us are used to the term de minimis.
Yes.
So just for those on the call who don't know what that means.
Oh yeah, thank you, Robert. So de minimis is in terms of the state aid funding that you may have received. So for other programs, for any potential funding applications you may have received, and de minimis essentially covers over it was the previous 3 years, 200,000. That's now increased to 300,000 euros. So if you have received state or European funding for any specific project, you just need to clarify that at the beginning within the application. So thanks for that clarification, Robert. Then in terms of the application, it's, as I said, pretty straightforward. These are here to try and we've tried to make it as lean, pardon upon as possible, and reduce the complexity. It's not here to catch anybody out. It's to try. There are certain details that we need. So it's your own details in terms of the business address, contact details, email, website, etc. So again, filling out to the best of your ability. Then the stage of business. So if it's a startup, which is less than 18 months, or a growth business greater than 18 months. Sorry, one thing I should have pointed out as well is business needs to be registered and trading for 6 months. Typically what you'll find anyway is you will get better bang for your buck and doing a program like this as you have your business up and running, that you're trading, that every element in terms of day-to-day business is going as it should. After that, in terms of when the business commenced trading, a business structure, so whether it's a sole trader, a partnership, or a limited company. Then in terms of, broadly speaking, your sector, so there's a number of different options. Again, another drop-down menu, a brief description of what your business is. So if you are selling seafood, if you are a professional service, whatever that might be, a manufacturing business, again, just a short bit of detail about who it is, what you are. Typically, you may already have that through your social media or your website anyway. And then details in terms of your turnover levels, and those are important in terms of ourselves as well, because your business will need to typically be generating over 30,000 euros per year. And again, back to, I suppose, the initial piece in terms of you will get best bang for your buck for this if you are trading, if you are operating and working through a real day-to-day business environment. Then the employment, so details in terms of full-time and part-time staff, and if there are other seasonal workers, for example. Again, the criteria is that there are under 50 staff, and that has been extended in the last year or so. Prior to that, it was up to 10. So with up to 50 and you're outside of the other agencies, typically speaking, that will cover and facilitate probably the majority of business enterprises in Donegal. Moving on then, have you ever completed a lean project? And you can just provide a small bit of detail. The good news about lean is it's a process, as Robert said. It's about continuous improvement. So we have a business who has applied for their third lean program last year, and each time they're looking at different aspects, or they're being more specific or focused on an area of the business. So if you have completed one before, great. And the fact that you want to do a second one or a third one, again, probably speaks well in terms of the positivity and productivity of the support. Then there's a little detail here in terms of what it is you want to get. So I know in the example earlier, Ciara talked about even suppliers. So there's a potential external piece, or there may be an internal piece. So and it's good, I suppose, just in terms of prioritization. So the delivery time to customers, quality on time, flexibility of approach. Obviously, stuff like costing is very important now, but I suppose it's good for yourself, I suppose, just to prioritize in terms of what are the most important elements you want to get out of the program. And then this is quite a useful piece as well. So again, it's just to manage, to understand what it is you specifically want. To an extent, sometimes it is in terms of managing expectations, what can and can't be achieved. So when that application is through, but also, I mean, it can be things like helping improve customer delivery times. I know Robert talked a lot about the likes of internal processes and how we deal with customer queries. Probably a good example within our own local enterprise office is we looked at how we deal with customer queries. We felt our process wasn't possibly as efficient as it could be. So with the help of Robert and the team as well, we've looked to really automate that. So the vast majority of queries we receive now are through an online submit form. This way we ensure that we get, we triage the query through in the correct way. And that the queries we receive are dealt with in a chronological order, and we give the commitment to respond to each query received within 5 working days. It means that nothing is lost, everything is captured, and we can deal with each query as accurately and as efficiently as we possibly can. And after that, and again, there can be a number of items. There can be 1 or 2 specific items, but again, I think if you're quite clear in terms of what it is you're looking for, that always helps in terms of the accuracy and delivery of the project from yourself. After that, it's a signed declaration and then a submit, and that comes through to ourselves. Typically speaking, if people have an idea of what it is they're looking for in advance, you probably do that application form in somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes, typically, I think, once you have the information to hand. So that is the application process. I'm just going to stop my sharing here. I see there are a couple of comments, I think, through as well, so we can go to them now.
Yeah, I was just saying about the lean startup.
Great.
Even though you've got to be 6 months before you get on the program, officially, but you should still look at the whole approach of the lean startup and being able to do that. So you can get advice, maybe not get fully into the program as it is, but the lean startup is a real good way to go. There's actually a book by a guy called Eric Ries called The Lean Startup. It's like any business. If you're driving your car, if you set out to go on a journey and you go, A to B, you know that you're not going to be able to just get in the car, put the foot down and go. You're going to have other obstacles in the way. You're going to have traffic lights. You're going to have all different things. So you're going to have to adjust your driving as you go. And it's the same with any business. We're not going to just get in the business and just go. We have to know how to adjust and know how to manage that business, know how to drive it. Just they're the kind of things.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions at this point? Feel free to unmute yourself if you do at this point, or type into our message. That appears to be everything for now. So look, I would just like to thank everybody for their time this morning, for our presenters, John, Robert and Ciara, for all of those who have attended. I hope you found this useful. I hope we see a flurry of lean applications through in the coming days and start off 2024 to become as lean and as efficient as you possibly can. I'll also talk about our Green for Business program on our upcoming webinar on Tuesday, January the 30th. It's also online at 10 a.m. if you haven't already, and green is another area of focus for yourself, and dare I say a rather important one as well. Please do sign up to that, and we'll have a final digital for business session as well in February. But again, stay tuned to our social channels, or if you've signed up for our emails to get more details of that. Thank you all very much, and again, if anybody has any questions and anything, feel free to get in touch with the office ourselves or myself personally. Thank you, Noel. Bye bye.